Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in the month of August. And keep in mind, I'm not a super fast reader, but I still wanted to sit down and chat with you and tell you what I liked, what I didn't, and what you should add to your TBR. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my bullet journal here and we're open to my book stats page. And this month my goal was to read 3 books and I read 6. So that was a total of 2,479 pages. One of them was an audiobook and 3 of them I read on my Kindle and 2 of them are actual physical books. So I'm gonna start off with my physical books and then we're gonna go over to audio and then we're gonna go to my Kindle books. So the first book we're gonna talk about is actually the first book that I read this month, which is Meet Me by the Lake by Carly Fortune. And a lot of people did not like this book, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I enjoyed this book. So basically it is told in dual timelines, so it takes place 10 years in the past and then present day. And it is about a girl named Fern Brookbanks, and 10 years ago she spent a very special night with a guy that she had just met, and in this perfect day, they decided, okay, in a year from now, let's meet up at this resort that my family owns and let's do everything that we talked about together and see if we're a perfect match for one another. So Fern is waiting at the dock that day and Will doesn't show up. But flash forward 10 years later, Fern is now going to be taking over the resort, and guess who shows up at the front desk? You guessed it. Will shows up 10 years later. 10 years later, people. But everyone doesn't like that book for that reason, because it's kind of like an instant love situation. But in my opinion, it's not so much instant love. It's they spent this one perfect day together. And I too live in a delusion to where if I met a beautiful man and we spent the perfect day, like 24 hours plus together, I would also fall in love with him. So no judgment, Fern, no judgment at all, because I am the same. And I think a lot of people disliked that they didn't see a lot of development in Will and Fern's relationship. But personally, I think that Carly Fortune is a very good writer, and I could see the connection between the 2 characters. And again, I'm gonna say, like, I live in a delusion. I would too fall in love with a beautiful man if, like, he was saying all the right things and things were going really well. So that's why I like this book. Not only for her amazing writing, but I really did enjoy the storyline, and then flash forward 10 years later and seeing how their relationship develops down the line. So the next book we're going to talk about is Just Haven't Met You Yet. This book has been on my shelf forever, and again, it's like the summer months, so I'm a mood reader, and I was like, oh, I need something, vacation-y-esque, so this one is actually perfect for that, and it has such a cute little map in the front. Like, I mean, look at that, so cute. So this is actually about Laura, and she works for a company where she tells other people's meet cutes and love stories, and she gets assigned to go on a little trip to talk about how her parents met and fell in love, and it's like this epic love story. But when she gets onto the plane, she has to check her luggage, and when she gets to the airport, she accidentally grabs the wrong bag. So when she gets back to her hotel, she opens the bag and the contents of the suitcase is her perfect man. Like, she's got music sheets from like her favorite artist, it's got like her favorite cologne. It's like all this crazy things that she's like, oh my god, like this man was meant for me. But in the meantime, she has like crazy encounters with this taxi cab driver. She's visiting all the sites that her parents were and like trying to write a story about their love while trying to find this mystery suitcase man. So honestly, this book, when I picked it up, I thought it was gonna be a very fluffy, like fun rom-com, but this book had so much depth to it. It was so much more emotional than I could even imagine. Like, I ended up a little bit like little tears at the end of the book because it dives into like her hopeless romantic side, and I am a hopeless romantic, so I kind of related to her in a lot of ways. But it's more of like Emily Henry-esque. So Emily Henry, like, she writes romance, but it's so much more than if you were picking up a rom-com and like something fun, something cute, like Allie Hazelwood. So this one has so much more to it, and if you love Emily Henry, I think you would really enjoy this book. I gave it like a 3.5 because there was a little bit of stuff in there, like she annoyed me in the beginning, just a bit. So keep that in mind, but I think it was really fun, and I definitely think it's worth the read. So the next book that I read was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is the audiobook that I listened to, and it is about Kit McDeer, who is a home health aide, and she has to actually take a job. She has no other choice but to take care of Lenora Hope, who is accused of killing her whole entire family back in 1929. So as Kit goes to take this job, she finds out that the last health aide has mysteriously up and left, and it was very strange. So she's trying to figure out that mystery while Lenora is telling her the truth of what happened during the murders. But the only thing is, Lenora is confined to a wheelchair. She can't talk, she can't move. The only thing that she can move is her left hand, and her previous health aide taught her how to type with that hand on a typewriter. And that is how she's telling Kit the story of the murders. And I give this a 3-star. The audiobook was actually pretty good. The narrator did a good job of making the scene really truly feel eerie, and I really love that. It really put me in the place of this creepy mansion, and it's decaying and everything like that. The beginning of the book was very fast paced. There was bombshell after bombshell, which made me want to continuously listen. However, I feel like towards the middle of the book, it got a little dry, it got a little slow, and I feel like sometimes that happens in thrillers. I feel like it's very hard to continuously keep someone interested. So I feel like this one kind of dragged on a little bit longer. It could have been a little bit more fast paced, but however, it was still very enjoyable. And then as you get to the end, it is one of it's just a huge plot twist that I didn't see coming, and it's really, really good. So I suggest you read this if you like thrillers. I think you would really enjoy it. Keep in mind though, I personally thought it got a little slow, but it did, for the most part, keep me very interested and entertained. So I think that if you're a thriller girly or guy, you would really love this book. The next book I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue, and this is my collector's edition. Isn't she just the most beautiful thing ever? If you don't know what Red, White, and Royal Blue is about, it's about Alex Claremont Diaz and Prince Henry of Wales, and so they are actually forced to start a friendship, and their friendship becomes more of a romantic relationship, and it's all about trying to navigate being together with the society that they live in today. So I have so much to say about this book, and I just love them. I love them so much. Upon my reread though, I did find I more so loved the romance between Henry and Alex so much more than the politic talk. I felt when I reread it, I was I don't remember it being so dragged on. And I get it because Alex's mom is the president, we have to talk a lot about politics, but I, for the life of me, could not figure out what Alex was doing. I had no idea. So I actually changed my rating to a 4-star of the book overall, but if I had to rate the relationship, it would be a 5 billion trillion star book, because Casey McQuestion, the way that they wrote this book and the romance between Alex and Henry is unmatched. It's so, I don't even know how, words to describe it. It's so good. I'm so sorry, I'm so bad at describing this book, but I think that everyone should read this book. They're my babies, they're my everything, and the way that the relationship in this book could never be translated into the movie. They do an amazing job, but there's so much depth, there's so much emotion, all of the hardships that they go through, is written so well in this book. Alright, so the next book I read on my Kindle was Vacation Wars by Megan Quinn, and I'm gonna start off by saying that I did not like this book. I gave it a 2 stars because I was entertained at some points, but for the most part, I really didn't like it. I will be brutally honest and say that at 70% of the book, I was completely over it, and I really skimmed the last part of the book. The entire book, I was just Tessa is the main girl, and it's her sister's wedding. So they decide to go to Santorini 2 weeks early to celebrate, and they always go to Santorini. It's a family tradition to go there, so they kind of grew up going to this resort. And Tessa has long loved one of the like workers at the resort. They call him Red Shorts, like they call him the Bulge, because one day in her like pubescent self, she saw him and she was like, that's a man. So she's so awkward around him, and to the point where I was cringing. Like I was like, I can't read this. Like there's a fine line between making someone super awkward in front of their crush, and it's like a little bit cringe, but this was so much, like it was overboard to the point where it's like, this is too much. Why are you writing this? Why? During this time, Tessa is about 30 and she still hasn't had a real relationship, and her sister and her friends had made a pact back when they were younger that if by the time they're 30 and they're not married, the group has to take control of your love life. So basically the sister and the friends are trying to set her up on these dates and like do all this crazy stuff, and Tessa decides like, you know, like this is not what I want, like you can't do this to me. So it's became a vacation war, hence the title. Like the premise of the book is like really fun. So like they're kind of going back and back, like, and Tessa teams up with Miles, who is like her lifelong crush. And then from there, they start to form a relationship, and their relationship is really cute. I think maybe he's the shining lighting of the book. I liked him the best because Tessa, her sisters, and her friends are super, super immature, and it was hard to believe that any of them were 30 or like 30 plus. Well, it was not a good book. This is really sad because I've seen so many Megan Quinn books on my Kindle, and I want to read them, and like I feel like people have talked about them, but this one was really bad. Everyone please bear with me, because the last book that I read was Haunting Adeline. And if you know, you know. If you don't know what Haunting Adeline is about, it is about a woman named Adeline, and she is this famous writer, and one day a man walks by like her book signing event and he sees her, and from that day forward he decides that he has to have her. So basically he stalks her. He breaks into her house, he leaves her roses, he watches her. It's very intense. He essentially starts to build a relationship with her stalker, and something in my brain I think is very, very off, because I truly enjoyed this book. And again, please read the trigger warnings because there's a lot of heavy stuff in this book. The main guy, actually, his job in life is to punish the people who do sex trafficking. So if you don't want to read about that, I highly suggest not reading this book. But again, once I started this book, I could not put it down. I don't know what was in this book, but I don't know if there's anything wrong with me, but I had to I could not put it down. I had to, like, I needed to read it. I could not stop. So I hope you want to go on a dark romance journey with me, because I want to film a little vlog of different dark romances that I'm reading. I think it could be really fun. So I hope you enjoy that. But again, Haunting Adeline, I do recommend the book. But again, please, please, please read the trigger warnings and proceed if you want to, and don't proceed if you don't feel comfortable. Thank you guys so much for sitting down and chatting with me about all the books that I read in the month of August, what I loved and what I didn't like. And again, these are just my opinions. If you love these books, I'm so glad you love these books. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you all in my next video.